Aloha and everyone, welcome to another episode of the Daily AI Show. Today we are going to cover all of the greatest news from around the AI sphere and probably highlight a couple of key information that has come out over the last couple of days. With me is Brian, Beth, and Andy, and this is the Daily AI Show. So who wants to take it off with the first news story of the morning?
Well, I know the biggest news story is we're probably going to talk a little bit more about Sonnet 4.6, but perhaps bigger than that, much bigger than that, huge, some would say, is it's also my birthday. That's huge. So this is also why I get to get...
Happy birthday, Brian.
I feel like this is why I get to go first. But is bigger than all the news. There is a AI firefighting story, and I'm excited. On my birthday.
All right.
See how that worked out? Yeah. So even better than that, and I'm going to find it here. So give me 1 second. Okay, here it is. Interesting Engineering. This is from interestingengineering.com. AI firefighting robot swarm self-organizes, tackles multiple fires with 99.67% success. Now, this just hits me in all the feels because, and here's what's even better. The project was led by Cyborg Dynamics Engineering in collaboration with Griffith University. This is out of Queensland in Australia. I just love any company that goes hard with the name Cyborg in it. I'm here for it. So first of all, they have all the wins because they're Cyborg Dynamics Engineering. Great name. But also we're talking about swarm. So what's going on here? Well, what basically they showed, and at least from the picture I can see, whether it was just test or otherwise, they were... 1 second for me.
Well, Brian's giving a pause. Hi, everybody in chat. Yeah, it's great to all see you there. Okay, Brian's back. All right, go.
Once again, just to say, we are a live show.
We are. Here's the only reason why I would have stopped in the middle of it. I'm not kidding you. My front door just opened and there was stuff blowing and I was like, I'm the only one home, guys. The only one here. And the front door just opened, was blowing a breeze down the hallway. And I was like, hello? Sorry, that does not happen every day. And there was nobody there. So that's fun.
And Uber Eats delivery apparently arrived.
Yeah,
that would be saying, welcome, Renato.
Yes. Anyway, I'm so sorry about that, but that was concerning for a second. Back to Cyborg firefighting and AI. It appears here that they tried some maybe brush. I don't know that it was necessarily structure, but the idea here is that there was a robot on the ground. That was the swarm. Was the robot was coordinating without human intervention with a bunch of drones. Now, I love this idea because, as they said here, it keeps firefighters out of harm's way. And I have in my short firefighting career, and God knows lots of my buddies, men and women went on to do 28, 30 plus year careers. I only did domestic firefighting for 5 years. And then by the time I was done going over to Iraq and back, it was about 8 years. All things considered, I mean, a part of my life, but nowhere near what most of my friends do because they stay in the fire service until retirement or, otherwise. And so, even in my short period of time at DeKalb County, I certainly was in dangerous situations, as you would imagine. And some of that is part of the job, but some of that can also be avoided with technology. Now, we've seen a lot that comes down from the military in terms of heads up displays. And even back when I was there, they were starting to pass out and give each station, which is a big deal, not just every battalion, but each station, thermal imaging and stuff like that could really help us in, not even low, but no visibility type fires. And I always say this to people just because I think it's good for people to know. I mean, there's the movies like Backdraft and any of the shows that are on TV. And of course, it's TV. It would be horrible TV if they went into a building on fire, and then for the next 7 minutes, it was just a black screen. You just had to listen on the TV. That does not make entertaining content at all. But the reality is, it's usually near to low to no visibility. Most of the fires that I went into a building on I was holding on to dear life to somebody. Either I was leading or I was holding on to somebody's calf, crawling and can't see anything. And you can only hear the fire and you're going by other senses, and you would wait for the warmth, basically. But even you can't see it, it doesn't make sense, right? But you can't see something, literally a couch burning in front of you if it's smoky enough. It just, the light doesn't reach you, right? So it's totally different than what we perceive on TV. It's very, very dangerous. It's very disorienting. That's why firefighters get hurt. That's why it's hard. And obviously, whenever there's not a direct threat to life, that's why you would go into a burning building, is because somebody thinks somebody is in there, right? That's the only reason to put people out, of that kind of danger. Okay. If it's otherwise, it's a surround and drown, which is protect the rest of the structures. We believe there's nobody in this structure, if that's what it is, and we're going to put the fire out and not let it get farther, right? That's the idea. And when that happens, keep the firefighters off the roof, get the drones up there, swarm it. I don't care what you call it, but I love seeing this. It makes me so, so happy to see that things like this are happening, that AI is part of this, and that this is going to save. It's going to save firefighters falling through roofs that get spongy, and you have to cut holes up there because of ventilation and things, that part of that job. And this is going to keep people off of dangerous things, because if you can stay out here and swarm and do different things and protect exposures and not put firefighters so close to it, that's a big deal. I'll just tell you from one of my experiences, our fire truck was between the building, the apartment complex that was on fire, that unfortunately a young boy lost his life at, and this retaining wall, and the radiating heat was so bad it melted the lights on the fire truck. And there was 6 of us standing in that oven trying to fight back against the fire. So I only say that to say, not that like, oh, look at me or anything like that. It's because people are doing this around the world day in and day out with much less equipment than even I had in 2003. This is going to save lives. And don't forget, one of the major killers of firefighters is heart attacks, not during the fire, during the cleanup phase. It's immensely hard work. It's very, very hard. That's all I'll say about it. So anyway, I know that's a lot more than just the AI story of this, but this fills my heart with joy. This is going to save my brothers and sisters that are working at firefighters or police or anybody else that's around there. And that makes me really, really excited. So if you get a chance, go check out these folks. This is the name again of the company that was doing the project is Cyborg Dynamics. I don't know why I have a time with that word, Dynamics Engineering. And this is out of the Griffith University and funded by the Queensland Defense Science Alliance. So there you go. It's on interestingengineering.com. Wanted to start off with that one today because I love it.
That's a great story. I love that. I don't know if I missed it, but did they say that you said like 96% success rate? 99% success rate, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Was there any other metrics like time or anything like that?
Nope. All it says, this was a demo, so this is not like literal on fires, but they said it successfully put out, I think it was simulated, and it said 2 different fires, no human intervention, and then it was the 99.67%. So no, I don't see any other metrics, Jimmy, but
yeah, I'll do a deep dive in the article later. But that is
nothing. No, the numbers jump off the page.
Right. Yeah. No, but yeah, just to have that no human interaction and super high accuracy rate, that alone is kudos. Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as we move on, what's who's got the next impactful story? Who can beat a firefighter and AI story?
Only if Claude gets embodied AI added to it will ultimately enter into the dangerous situations to assist you. But Claude Sonnet, I've been a fan of Claude Sonnet, not really jumping up to Opus that often because I've always found Sonnet works really well. Well, now Claude Sonnet 4.6, released just very shortly after Opus 4.6, really got a lot of press for its increases in capabilities. It has outscored Opus 4.6 on agentic financial analysis and office task benchmarks. So if you're using Claude, as you should be if you're doing any kind of financial analysis, because Claude Excel, right? Claude in Excel is better than anything out there for working in spreadsheets. But now on agentic financial analysis and also any kind of office workflow automation or task management, Sonnet 4.6 is the leader. That's the one you should be working with, not Opus. And it costs 1/5 what Opus costs to run. So we have a natural tendency to want to use the latest and greatest model. And Opus 4.6 is, you're invited to use that if you're using, the Claude desktop app. Try it out. It's really quite impressive. I've always, felt like it wasn't a great trade-off in terms of the limited credits in effect that you get when you're using Opus. There's a timeout process that happens when you're using Claude, and it runs out faster if you're using Opus than if you're using Sonnet. And I think you could reason, I haven't measured it, but you can reason that it runs out 5 times faster than you'll run out if you're using Sonnet. So Sonnet 4.6, really impressive. Let's see, another little quick statistic. Computer use capabilities in the Sonnet line have risen from 15% just several months ago for Sonnet to 72.5 in Sonnet 4.6. So all across the agentic spectrum here, Sonnet is really a good choice for you if you're using the Claude range of models.
So I think that's interesting. I keep hearing that it's 1/5 the cost, which must mean that it's $1, right? Opus is $5 for input and $1, or am I wrong about that? Because so maybe it's not. Maybe it's Opus is $15 input and Sonnet is $3. Because I thought Sonnet was $3, and I'm like, 3 is not 1/5 of 5. Thank you very much. I may not be a math whiz, but come on, people.
Just ask Claude. Just ask Claude to reckon that for you.
I just looked it up, Beth. It's this is from Claude, their API docs. Claude Opus 4.6 is $5 per million token. Sonnet 4.6 is $3 per million tokens. Then it gives you a bunch about cash. If you look at output, Opus was $25 and Sonnet is 15. So not quite a 1-to-3 ratio there. Oh, actually, no, that's right. It was 3. It wasn't 1-to-3. It was 3-to-5. So I'd have to do the fast math, but 15 to 25 is probably that same rate. So
15 to 25 is also not 1/5.
Right. I was just reading that, literally from the rundown, so.
Which I have heard and read and seen. Yeah. Everybody is quoting that. And I'm like, so what are the numbers? Because, it's cheaper. It's yay.
I know. Okay, here's I'm going to read literally from the excerpt that I pulled out here, because there's another interesting statistic in here. On SWE-bench verified, this is coding. So Sonnet 4.6 scored, let's call it 80, okay, 79.6, rounded up to 80. Opus 4.6 got 81, okay. There's not a big difference in the coding capabilities between these two models. And it said, quote, while costing just 1/5 as much to run. So, not to slam them, but that they've just poisoned the quality and reliability of their citing of the cost, because we just looked and saw that it's more like 1/3.
And so I just threw this into the chat because I happened to look down and see it. Claude Haiku 4.5 is 1/5 the cost of Claude Opus 4.6. That's the only 1/5 that's on there. So it's possible that they read that.
It's possible they read it. It's also possible that these people get heads up prior. So maybe we're getting a new haiku. Total speculation, but
that would follow.
Very nice.
That would follow along with the Sonnet 4.6 for sure.
And in in Dan Schipper's live stream yesterday, when they were doing a live vibe reaction to Sonnet, they said that they got early access to Opus, but Sonnet didn't have an early access, but they knew it was coming out. So I'm wondering if Haiku is also coming out. These people also know that. We're just like you, everybody. We get the news just at the same time you do, and we are reacting to it live and trying to figure it out. So inside knowledge here.
What's interesting here, Beth, is that, yes, all of that is correct, but like, let's look at these costs too, because like the costs just keep racing down. So look at like Claude Opus 3, which has since been depreciated. That was $15 per million tokens. Again, Opus 4.6 right now is $5. But if you look at Sonnet 3.7, which has been depreciated, Sonnet 4, 4.5, and 4.6 all have the same cost to them. So you're getting increasingly, and like 4.5 to 4.6 were big jumps, even though, Anthropic only put a decimal on there. It's not equivalent to 4 to 4.5 is not the same equivalent jump of 4.5 to 4.6. 4.5 to 4.6 is a bigger jump than 4 to 4.5. I think most people would agree. So the numbers are hard to follow anyway, but if we just look at what the costs are here, the absolute cheapest model right now for Anthropic, just to wrap this up, would be Claude Haiku 3, and that is 25 cents per million tokens. Probably still a very capable model. And Claude Haiku 3.5 is only 80 cents per million tokens. So it's not as if you have to always use the best and the latest. There's models out there. I mean, I bet you Haiku 3 is very good. And it's 25 cents per million tokens. And there are just a plethora of tasks that it could do easily at that Haiku 3 level that you don't need spending the more money for.
These price reductions are being driven by the Chinese competition because, like Kimi K 2.5 is, very inexpensive. I don't have the numbers at hand, but, the major model developers here have to provide something akin to the pricing of the Chinese models in order to stay relevant and competitive in the enterprise and in the consumer market. One last thing we didn't mention, Sonnet 4.6 now has 1 million context window.
Right. Up from 200, right? 200K?
Yeah. It's in beta.
About time, but yeah.
It's in beta. Do you have to turn it on? Because they said that about, I don't know, I'm asking. They said that about Opus also. And Opus, you did have to turn it on. And I didn't have anything available to it. And it doubled.
Mine is still on Opus 4.6, but Sonnet 4.6 is right below it.
Yep.
I don't have to turn it on. I could just turn it over.
No. Do you have to turn on the 1 million context window? Because I've been going back and forth with Claude Code because I'll show something maybe tomorrow or Friday on the show, but I created, you can customize a status bar if you're using the CLI interface. And so my status bar tells me what my context window is and how far I'm using it. I hate compaction, but I did find something out about that. I'll talk about that later too. But I was like, hey, what happened to that 1 million context window? So it said it was available. It is more expensive. You have to do something in order to be using it. But
really?
But Sonnet, I will be very excited about because the files that get created to prep for this show are dense. My code is like, whoo, that's a big file.
Yeah.
Like, we made it JSON today, so it's just slightly better.
So just to wrap up, I think I just want to highlight like what you said, Brian, and a little bit of what you were saying, Beth, is we're in this situation, or we're in this position of having so many different good choices. And Andy, like you said, the competition amongst the Chinese model makers too is the end result, right? Your result-based application of these is what's most important. You may not need Sonnet 4.6. You may just need a Haiku. Whatever's going to fit for your application is kind of where we're at. Even though, like Andy said, we want to try out the newest and greatest, and of course, we're definitely in the position where we have to try the newest and greatest, anyways. But for your own solutions, if you have very specific needs, I think that's really where you're going to draw a lot of that value out.
So I have a quick story that I want to add onto that. And it's been talked about on X. I don't know why it's come back. We may have talked about it on the show before. But there's a paper called Prompt Repetition Improves Non-Reasoning LLMs. And it came out December 17th, 2025. And I'm interested in this because we knew this. Andy knew this 2 years ago, that if you just said your prompt again, you got better stuff out of it than if you just put it the one time. And it starts to be able to make Sonnet function like a higher model, and potentially in this paper make Haiku function like a higher model as well. Now, Sonnet 4.6 may be a reasoning model now. I don't know. And it doesn't have the same bump with reasoning models, because one of the things that happens with a reasoning model is that it repeats itself in that process. That's what it does when it reasons. But this could become relevant again if we're getting new versions of the lower models as well.
I do have a quick story that kind of weaves off of what we've been talking about. And Alibaba has come out with their new Qwen 3.5, which they claim it's their model made for agentic AI. It's an entire model family for Qwen, and they are saying that it is 60% cheaper than comparative models. So this is open source. It's a very large model, so I don't know how many people are going to run local versions of it, but they could probably run a quantized smaller version of it, and that'll be interesting to see if someone's already put something out on Hugging Face to try out, and I'll see if I can download that and give that a swing. I think it's very important that this open source is not the right word, but competition exists. Because there seems to be this sort of race between open models and closed models in terms of gathering attention, especially from like the technical or developer side of things. But I think the thing I enjoy the most is because that pressure exists between the two camps, we're going to get better and better models that we can run locally. And so that's kind of something I'm focusing on myself.
Yeah, I mean, you were just talking yesterday, Beth, about something that could be run on old Android phones, like $50 Android phones, and it's like that's kind of what we're talking about, or the Raspberry Pi and stuff like that, right? With the onboard memory or whatever, the additional memory. I don't build in that area, but I've heard of those things, like you guys have talked about on the show. So, and then back to Andy's point about how this competition does make people have to drive down potentially cost and larger context windows. I just happened to look at Kimi 2.5. That's a 260,000 token context window. Claude comes out and now bumps up to 1 million, right? So like, these are all these parties are sort of working, and ultimately it's probably better for the user. Because there's all this model. And if you remember, like 2 years ago, what were most of the major people saying? At least as I remember, you guys correct me if you think I'm wrong, but most people were saying, hey, these Chinese models, whatever, they're at most 48 months behind, or 24 months, 2 years behind, right? In there, they're going to catch up. Well, we saw this domestically with how Google, red alerted and caught up, and now is a premier model. People are making fun of Google all the time. They have their missteps like all of them, but I mean, we've been saying for a long time that Gemini is a very good model, one of the best. And now, look, we're that 2 years later at least. And that didn't mean that they were going to be at 3.5 2 years later. No, they were saying we have a bit of a runway, but we don't have much. And these other international models are absolutely going to be catching up. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing is whatever sort of runway there was has largely disappeared. Now, I don't know what Google or Anthropic or OpenAI have in the hopper. There's always another model that we can't see. So perhaps there is something internally that's not visible yet that is the next era of, well, I think at this point we wouldn't even assume that it would be just a chat model. It would have to be something agentic. It would have to be multi-agent, because that just seems to be where things are going. And a good pivot to that really quick. It's not really so much a news story, but we do talk about this guy quite a bit. Ethan Mollick on the show. Always say he's a great person. I mean, just follow him on LinkedIn, although I think he's good on X as well. But I find him on LinkedIn, and I mean, he puts out quality content like every other day. Doesn't use AI to do it. I mean, it's always really interesting. He also has a newsletter called One Useful Thing. And he just put out his latest blog on that today, I guess. It has today's date on it. And it's a guide to which AI to use in the agentic era. It's not just chatbots anymore. So I won't spend time going through that, because I think anybody should just go find that. It's like on Substack. It's free. You can find it. Just go look up One Useful Thing by Ethan Mollick, and you're going to find this latest one. And he says in there that this is like the 6th or maybe 8th time he's put out one of these reports. And look, it doesn't matter where you are in the AI journey. I always think it's worth reading what he writes, because you're going to pick something up, even if you're in the AI bubble with the rest of us and you're playing with the latest models. This is good to read. Also, from like my perspective as a consultant, I'm not building or deploying or training people. I just kicked off another sales agent training course last night. And I'm not talking to our folks in the audience here who are listening to us every day. They're real world, right? They're using AI where they're using it. And so I think it's great to read these blogs by Ethan, because it level sets you and says, okay, here's a really smart guy that we've all been following, as well respected. And he's sort of giving this lay of the land, which is great, because if you are in the bubble, that's what you should be paying attention to, is like how he is talking about the general users. Because otherwise you end up teaching above where somebody is. You're not meeting them where they currently are. And in my particular case, the course, I always say, I think I stress my superiors out, because I purposely will not finish the curriculum to a new course I'm going to be teaching. Even if it's the same course and it's like the next cohort, I purposely will wait almost to the last minute, because y'all know that like stuff changes. And so the big change I made to this one is, whereas it used to end in make automations, I've compressed, and now it ends in Claude Cowork.
Right.
That's not even something that would have been part of my first cohort, right? So it just goes to show that this stuff is moving along. And what is my intent in that with these sales reps and sales managers? Going to have two versions of this that go concurrently for 3 weeks. It's not to go make them an expert in Claude Cowork. I'm not an expert in Claude Cowork. It's to say, hey, see this little basic prompt and how we made this basic prompt better. And then we took it and we made it repeatable in a gem. And then we took that gem of that custom GPT and we said, we can make that even better with knowledge. And then we said, oh, but we have a problem. We can't throw 50 leads at it in a spreadsheet. It will fail miserably. And so then we went to Make, and we did a basic thing with Make, and we took this spreadsheet and then we sent it and we did some AI stuff and we put it back in the spreadsheet. And we said, oh, wait, maybe if we want to have some routers and make it a cold or warm email, we need to route it somewhere. That's a more advanced Make operation. And what if we wanted to take all of that and start having it do it for us? Well, that's where we get into Claude Cowork. And that's where we start using those original prompts that were original gems in ChatGPTs and custom GPTs. Right. And they became skills in a plugin with command lines. And right. It's all connected. And I love showing them that through line is there the entire time.
Right. Because if you focus on your fundamentals, when things change, you're not losing the fundamentals. No. They just get plugged in different places. There is one thing I want to highlight about that Ethan talked about in this, because he introduced a 3-layer framework that I think is relevant for us moving forward. And the framework is models, which are the underlying brains, right? So we're talking about all of the model names that we have just said, Gemini 3 Pro, Claude Opus 4.6, and Sonnet 4.6, GPT 5.2, 5.3, those things. The next level up is apps, and these are the products that you use. So ChatGPT interfaces with a model, Claude.ai interfaces with a model, Gemini, here we go. And then the third layer that he put on was harnesses, and that's the new piece. These are systems that let AI use tools, take actions, complete multi-step tasks, and Make isn't really a harness in the way that Brian was talking about, but Cowork is, because Make was a pure automation. Like you could automate a call to an AI, but it's still the Lego, right? Like what you're doing is you're stacking the Lego, and Cowork is a horse of a different color, as I like to say. It is, So it's yes. Very exciting.
Yeah, I love
I just wanted to add that piece because I think moving forward, you may hear us bring that back again. Are we at the model layer? Are we at the app layer? Are we at the harness layer?
Yeah, because it's no longer acceptable to just say, I used 5.2. There's usually more to that. And we may just be talking about using the chatbot, within ChatGPT, or we might say, oh no, I used it through the API, and there's that. But you're absolutely right, Beth. We're at a point now where you can't, you really do need to distinguish where it is you're talking. And I mean, like you said in his blog, he even puts like OpenClaw. He's like, it's kind of in its own thing, but it's worth talking about. What is it that it's doing for you, And so anyway, yeah, it's a great article. One useful thing, go check it out. It's free on the internet. And as I always say, I love that Ethan Mollick has a paid tier and you get literally nothing else for the paid tier. I every time I bring that up, but I just love the fact that like there is no extra. It's just, do you also want to pay me some money because you like what I do? Yeah. I love that about Ethan Mollick. I just think it's like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know him, but I feel like that fits his personality. So,
all right.
Well, as we move on to, or before we move on to our next segment, is there any other news that you all really wanted to cover?
Is the next segment AI and science?
Yeah, but I can't say that without doing it the right way.
Well, it changes my answer, Junmi. What am I getting in the way of? All right, go.
Go, Andy. I have one small one, but Andy I know hasn't been able to share.
Andy, you got a story you want to cover?
Well, yeah, there are a number of things that I think we ought to pay attention to, but I think AI and science is important. So let's not delay that much longer. But I will just interject with this one little thing, which is a curiosity based on something that we've all been talking about for years now. And that is the whole idea of creating a digital twin of yourself based on lots of information that you have collected over time. In your interactions now with AI and with more persistent memory capabilities happening, the accumulation of knowledge about how you speak, how you think, how you talk, what your range of interests are, and so on, is now, making it more and more possible to conceive of a second, personal assistant that is mostly digital, but is, possessed of a lot of the same knowledge and reasoning traces that you exhibit when you're involved. So Meta just got issued a patent on the AI that posts after you die. Now you can think about this as the accumulation of all of the history of your Instagram and or Facebook account. And now the account can just keep on going, interacting with your network and behaving as if you're still there. And they posit two different uses for this. One is, if you're going to be on, a Nepali expedition and you're not going to be able to attend to your Facebook account, well, you can turn this on. It hasn't been delivered yet. This is just an issued patent because it just shows where you're thinking, right? And you can turn it on and it will continue to, do, interactions for you based on its knowledge of how you would interact. So it uses user-specific data in the patent application, and the system could reconstruct the digital persona, and it can continue to act on the platform as if the person were still active. But the model may also be able to simulate when the user is absent or deceased. Okay, so that's the digital legacy side of this one. Is now, I've had a few longtime friends pass away, and the family then takes over the Facebook account. There's a process for doing that, but then you kind of lose connection with that person as they stop posting and so on. Well, this would make it possible to not interrogate, but to interact with, to question, to converse with somebody who's passed on, but whose knowledge base is represented still in the data set that Meta has accumulated.
I'm going to throw more of my quick comments on this just so we don't delay in science. I've been a proponent for AI as an option for people, not put upon, but as an option for people who want to, for after people pass away. I've said years ago that I would not necessarily be against there being some version of my mom passed away in 2008 that I could interact with. I have said that I think I would find comfort in that, even at 48, right? Many, many years later after she passed away. That's not everybody, and I get that. The big one here is Meta. And if it is, Andy, like, it's the intent that it continues the act on your behalf. I don't like that at all. I don't know that I would necessarily, you're right. I know a few people in the last couple of years who passed away who had active Facebook accounts. And I think I would be okay with it doing almost like a version of memories that come up. If the family, by the way, wants that to continue on, hands off. And they're like, look, we don't really want to run the account, but we're also okay with it occasionally bringing back memories or different old posts or whatever. As long as it's not playing the role of somebody still living or creating net new content, I would have a problem there. Again, it's like kind of whatever people permission before death. But that worries me a little bit because I don't want to be turned into an avatar, of myself. But I have been very active on Facebook for many years. And so if my wife's wishes were that account kept going in my name, but it was very obvious that I was deceased and I was just bringing memories up into other people's feeds, and they could block me if they wanted to, right? Post death, they could block me and not want to see that. I don't have a problem with that, but it is I find this to be a very sticky thing, and Meta being on it bothers me.
Monetization of that patent is going to be really dicey.
Yeah.
YouTube is rejecting my comments as the Daily AI Show. I said Meta filed the patent, and YouTube said YouTube rejected your comment. This usually means that they think it's spam.
Wow.
What is spam about Meta filed the patent?
I do find YouTube's it's a bit wonky sometimes with their rejection of it. Okay, can I do my real quick one? But it's like literally, it's really quick. NotebookLM, because this is something people want, so I want to let them know that it exists now. Because you wouldn't let it slide. This is NotebookLM's X post on this, right, from their account. Because you wouldn't let it slide, pun intended. These are rolling out today for our most requested feature: prompt-based revisions. Tweak, tailor, and tune your slides just by prompting the revisions you want. PowerPoint support. You can now export your slide decks. Google Slides coming next. So that's it. That's the whole post. You can go check that out. Love me some NotebookLM. And yes, one of the biggest issues is if Nano Banana created that slide, you go, oh, that's 90% of the way there, but then it becomes unusable unless you bring it into Canva or some other editing tool. So obviously, yes, being able to make tweaks. I've always said, you kind of want layers is what you really want now Banana to create, is the background, the next. So you could go in there and tweak each layer. So it looks like they're moving closer and closer to that. So good news for anybody using NotebookLM to create some quick slides. You've got more control now to fix those slides, at least for PowerPoint. And it says Google Slides coming next, which is funny because it's NotebookLM, which is owned by Google. So you would have thought that would have been the other direction, but hey, whatever.
Right? How is the competitor's product Airs Microsoft.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's definitely not easier. But okay.
They're taking the Claude route. They're like, hey, we're gonna fix Excel. Like Microsoft's like, thanks, I guess. I don't. What is happening?
Well, on that high note, we will now move on to AI and science. All right. Before we get to the main AI and science story, I did want to do a quick blurb on something that has been floating around for a while in terms of technology and rapid advancement. I think we started talking about this maybe a year and a half ago, and there has been consistent movement in this field of science development, and that is neuromorphic computers. So about a week ago, or half a week ago, the Department of Energy and the Sandia National Laboratory have modeled a neuromorphic computer. And if you don't know, neuromorphic computers are essentially computers that are, or chips and whatnot, that are designed around the human brain and how the human brain functions. But what they've been able to do is they've been able to get it to solve complex equations. And these are known as the partial differential equations. And these are very difficult mathematical equations. These are the equations that run fluid dynamics. These are the equations that run all the macro systems that we observe in nature. So this is a huge jump in terms of finding a much more efficient or better way to solve these equations, right? Normally you need, big data center supercomputers to really crunch these kinds of numbers. But what they're finding is that neuromorphic computers are able to crunch those numbers and solve these equations much more efficiently and faster. So that's the big jump in that technological field. Now, to the main story. We're going to talk about DRFOLD-II. And this was a paper that was published very recently. I think it was just a day or two ago. And just a note, this is not a peer-reviewed paper, but it is showing up in the more reputable sources. Like this one comes from PLS Biology. So a team led by Yan Zhang and colleagues published DRFOLD-II, a deep learning system for predicting RNA 3D structures directly from sequence, a long-standing problem in computational biology. RNA structures shape how RNAs function and how they can be targeted by therapeutics, but experimental structure determination is slow and costly. The authors said that DRFOLD-II combines a pre-trained RNA composite language model, which learns statistical patterns from large RNA sequence data, with a denoising structure model that refines noisy candidate conformations into the final fold. So you've heard of like protein folding and, figuring out different molecular combinations. That's essentially in the same realm. They reported improved performance on multiple benchmarks, including better contact prediction precision, and said that DRFOLD-II can complement AlphaFold-III when integrated into an optimization framework. Peer work like AlphaFold transformed protein structure prediction, but RNA has different constraints and often fewer high-quality experimental templates. The differentiator here is treating RNA folding as an end-to-end denoising problem guided by a specialized RNA language model rather than relying primarily on templates or handcrafted energy functions. If the results hold across diverse RNA, the tool could speed hypothesis testing in RNA biology and support earlier stage screening for RNA-targeted drugs. So why does it matter? Faster RNA structure prediction can shorten cycles in RNA drug discovery, basic biology, especially where experiments are rate limiting. So, essentially, if you know anything about RNA, and recently in the last few years, RNA has been used as part of our vaccines, targeted vaccines for COVID, all of these kinds of things, right? And so this is another application of being able to speed up the testing process to get you more viable or highly probable solutions, drug discoveries, and things like that. We've had it for proteins. Now we will eventually, once this has been completely peer reviewed, have a methodology in which and a technology to apply it to RNA. So this is part of the larger conversation of how AI is helping speed up the drug discovery process and just science in general. We've had stories in the past about, from chemistry, and now here is more biology in this sector. So highlighting multiple movements, the fact that this is a really early on study or paper, which means it'll take some time to implement and get going. But the fact that they've built it to integrate with using AlphaFold-III as part of the process does make it sound like it would have a decreased amount of time before implementation, because that's already a very established technology and AI related information for researchers. So that is the AI in science story of the week. Thank you for joining my TED Talk. I will be here.
But the classic mug too. It's got the Jimmy mug. Look, what is it? All right, show us the mug, Jimmy, really quick, so everybody can see it really quick. Yeah, it's. I feel like you see the classic the Jimmy mug. It's usually the metal. It reminds me of it's not, but the ones that Brazilians drink out of, the traditional metal mug. It's for a certain type of either tea or something like that. I can't remember what it's for. I'm gonna talk outside of my range here, but it reminds me of that.
So I did something yesterday that I discovered something yesterday with Claude Code that I put in the chat, but I don't think I said it out loud too well. Stop me if I have. But when you work with Claude Code in the desktop or through, I think it's just desktop, but maybe through another format, you have a record of it, right? It exists as just like another chat. But when you work with it in the command line interface, in the CLI, you don't. And the compaction happens, and I hate that. But those session logs are saved. And I did not know that. And I made a viewer yesterday after Claude told me that it could totally access the thing that I was very upset that I had lost access to. I was like, you mean just let me see? You have that, because it gave me a code. And I was like, it tells me the code is invalid. What is happening? And it was like, well, I can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Say what?
Yeah.
What? The whole save function that we've created because something golden just happened, it's going to disappear. Haha. So it's saved in JSON, and it will code you a viewer for the JSON in 7 minutes, which is what it did for me. And then you can find all sorts of things.
Yeah, I noticed when the compaction would happen with Cowork that it also would say compacting, and then it's doing this, and then it added a little addendum there that said, if you want access to the full conversation history of this, you can find it here.
Right.
and it would provide a link to that. And I've never actually gone back and done that because I wanted to move forward. But so it's being retained somewhere, but I've never consulted it.
I knew that it was for the other things. I just thought that that was the price of compaction, I guess, and doing this. And the reason that I'm going back to it is because when I'm brainstorming, I'm giving a fair amount of context that isn't being captured, but I would like it, right? Like, I don't want to tell you this again, that we've had this conversation. I know we've had this conversation. I would like to be able to search the previous conversations we've had. And the other piece of this is that this is actually working better than any chat search I've tried. Perplexity can't find my chats for anything.
Yeah.
So this was really
where does that search UI live? Like, how do you asked it to build a little search engine against your prior chats, right? And where does it expose itself? Is it in the artifact on the side?
No, because I'm using the CLI. It's literally a internal web interface. It's a local HTML file.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know what I said, but I know we ended it with a fist bump emoji. And yup, the fist bump emoji is like, here it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it was one of those moments of like, oh, we are in the magic world.
Yeah.
Right? Not only is this saved, but it's saved in a formula. It's gonna make me sad when I go and read it because it's JSON.
Yeah.
And oh no, I don't have to. It can give me magic glasses. Right?
Yeah. Oh,
all of that can happen in like 12 minutes, 15 minutes. It's like, so.
Yeah. I agree with you. And that's a huge, I'm using Cowork as the desktop. Code as the desktop version of it. But that's something I definitely am looking forward to is, yes, I can clone the repo and that kind of gets you where you need to go. But it would be nice if the history was a little better after compaction, because I've definitely had situations where I've been like, ooh, we definitely covered this. And then it's like more on me to try to figure out where in the hell it was covered. And I've had to go back through the chats, and nothing is more painful than scrolling forever. A million context windows are great until you have to scroll it and find out where it said that one thing that that it came up or whatever. So it's been a bit of I wouldn't say it's like a full stop pain, but I feel the same that you're saying, Beth, is like, yeah, I just need a little bit more to be able to like, oh, but we talked about that, and be able to look across to the other computer and say like, yeah, we have at least some context. I would love it if Claude Code was like, yeah, that was on that laptop, and so like I can pull back the general context, but you're going to have to pull it from the repo if you want the full file or something, which would be fine, honestly, just to know that there was some sort of cross communication, I think would be nice on that. So anyway.
Yeah. And it's the piece for me of it feels, so when my mother was going through her dementia journey, there were times where you would talk to her and that like, nah, she's having conversations, but she's faking the conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I have that experience, right? It's the difference between it saying, do you want that in dark mode? Because you just asked for dark mode previously, so I know that you're probably going to want dark mode, or sure. And I said, can you make it in dark mode? And like, well, okay. Right? Like, I mean, it's not attitude, but it's like, mom is not home today. I would like mom back. If I can get mom back in a context thing. And I just said, I don't want Meta to bring mom back. They're different, guys. Like, it's just different for me.
Listen, Beth, you've shared a little bit. And one thing I know is that you have a full history and experience of obviously being the caregiver with your mom and things you've shared with us, and the little we do know about it. But I would imagine there's so much complexity probably to how AI could help in something like that, and my mom didn't go through. I just mentioned my mom who passed in 2008. She passed from cancer, but the funny, it's funny now. But my mom joked about it, so I can laugh about it even past her death, because she was laughing about it. But she would check out like that, Beth, and I'd be talking to her, but it was the drugs, not because she had dementia or anything. And she started talking about, I was at the firehouse, and I'm on the phone with her, and it's a pretty lucid conversation. And then it turned to carousels, and I thought, oh, mom's left the building, right? But my mom caught it, and she said, yeah, I know that didn't make any sense. So I started laughing. And then my mom said, it's because your mom's a meth head. I'm now a meth head. And she said it so brilliantly deadpan that I laughed so hard about it, because she was on the strongest drugs. It was towards the end and stuff, but she just had a great sense of humor about it. And she knew she left the building and she came back. So I wasn't going to call it out, but she did. It just broke the tension, of the situation, of a bad situation or whatever, and made me laugh. It's one of my favorite memories, is my mom deadpanning that she was a meth head. I love it. So anyway, just wanted to share that really quick because it's a fun story. So,
well, before we wrap up for the day, I'm always interested in finding out what everyone is working on or paying attention to, right? So I want to give chat an option to just hit us with all of the projects that you're most interested in or are working on. And then I want to follow up with each of you to see if there's anything that you're working on or that you're paying attention to. So, Andy, let's start off with you. Is there a project that you're working on, or a project or something that you're paying attention to and seeing how it's developing?
Yeah, I'm in a loosely affiliated collaboration with Beth and Brian on a video editor for large YouTube collections, and with some interesting new features. And I've done a fork that's on a different platform totally from what the main project is that Brian's leading, where he's doing a bespoke application, to be mounted, in a full deployment, separate from a vibe coding platform. I'm just working in Lovable to sort of, in the sort of spare time that I find, to move forward with little additional features that I think might be useful, and also doing analysis of what doing analysis for future ideas that are spawning from that project, and creating PRDs and storing them, and also developing a little library. Cowork's helping me do that, maintaining a library of feature enhancements that I've posited, but I don't have time to work on right now. So all of those things are collecting that may be or may not be useful, and so that's the primary work that I'm doing. At the same time, I've developed a more expansive PRD for a Life Chronicle application. And so that's something that I will, once we finish Project Bruno, and that's out there, I'm going to turn my attentions to that.
Nice.
Gotcha. We've got one from Greg here saying, working on 9 writing personas, improving and evolving. I am continuing to drive TAM studies for the clients. 9 different writing personas. I could see how you could have that many, or even more. You kind of want a persona for each applications. So that does sound interesting, Greg. And then, of course, Jen, I've been consulting with AI for astrological reasons. I'm totally with you. Information and data comes from all forms of sources. Jen, I'm sure there'll be something in there that's really fun. For myself, I'm contemplating either spending time to find one or just build one, but I kind of want to have a local, personalized tax advisor. Is that coming up in a few weeks? So, right. I don't want mob.
I've done that. I've built one of those. Yeah. So
I need to get with you, Andy.
Good.
Yeah.
Consult with me consult with me on that one.
I do, for sure.
Right.
I do.
Yeah.
So we're all going to have a meeting with Andy around March 7th.
Yeah.
Dude.
Wait till the last few weeks before April 15th, and we'll
be the experiment, right? The experiment is how good can the advice be, and with little time before deadline. Which on the site, remember,
There's a difference between tax preparation and tax planning, right? So tax planning has to precede the end of the year, and so what I've built is really more useful for your longer range tax planning as opposed to
okay. What model are you using, or what model are you?
I used Claude to build an Excel workbook that has a full simulation of my particular financial situation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
For me, it's a sticking point that I need to do it locally. So I got to find the right kind of model and build a solution around that. I really just don't want that information.
Right.
It could just be trust issues. I don't know. Maybe it's the IT guy in me that I just don't want to don't want that stuff floating around. Oh, so
Cisco.
Yeah.
So working on N8N workflows, scraping regulatory data, and another personal thing that he's taking YouTube content into Notion with summaries. That's cool.
Nice.
And let's see, I also saw that Jude kind of explained that he's doing this, a tourism project app in Claude Code, relying heavily on Andy's consultation. Yeah, and he's not relying heavily on my consultation. He's getting, point advice once a week on what he's doing. He's doing a really nice job on it. Just for clarity, Jude lives on the property here with me. He's my brother-in-law.
All right. Yeah. Jude, let us know what the progress is on that app. And then I think we have one more from Renato here.
Yeah. Jude's not a plant in the chat, right? It's like he runs his own, he comments as himself. I just want to say.
Right. And so Renato here has working on a landing page for a product that you've been building for almost 2 years. Awesome. Yeah. Definitely love to get these kinds of updates and whatnot. Beth, do you have one you want to mention?
I do. So as Andy mentioned, and Brian had to leave, we're all working on different aspects of Project Bruno. For what I'm doing, I'm working on a detailed atomization process from our videos and content that we're generating now. So basically December forward when we came to StreamYard. So we have all of that data in that same kind of format. And then a backward looking project and mine is beyond video. So creating text authority pieces and SEO and GEO kind of pieces from what we're talking about. And doing that in a way that also feeds into how I prep for the show. So I'm like, ooh, we did this. Can we do that before the show? Right. So they're feeding each other.
Gotcha.
It's exciting.
Gotcha. Yeah. Following the project has been really exciting. And now that I've recovered from, I had the flu, everybody. So that's why you haven't seen me for a few weeks. And now that I recovered from that, I want to see if there's anything I can help you guys out with on that. Yeah. So we'll go ahead, unless there's any last minute things, we'll go ahead and wrap up for the day. It was great seeing everybody and talking with everybody in chat. If you want to continue this conversation and let us all know about all the fantastic projects you're working on, please join the community on Slack at the Daily AI Show community.
.com. Have your head.
Yeah, and it'll lead you to the Slack community. Lots of great people there. Hope to see you soon. So thank you again for everyone who's watching now or just a little later for this episode 663 on February 18th, 2026. This has been the Daily AI Show. And remember, keep your minds and your hearts open. Aloha.